I'm Annette, your resident sexpert, and this is the S Word. This is the judgment-free show for open and honest conversation about all things sex. Be sure to go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell so that every time we post a new show, you'll get a notification. Our sponsor for today's show is Just For You Skin and Spa, where they have handcrafted bath bombs, all made with 100% pure essential oils. Rejuvenate your skin and captivate your senses with Just For You Skin and Spa. You can reach them at www.justforyouskinandspa.com. First things first, I am not a doctor, so before taking any of my advice, be sure to consult with your trusted healthcare professional. Now, today's episode is about love and war. We all know that when looking for love, marriage, relationships, the first thing we think is the lovey-dovey fairy tale ending. But as most of us know who've been in relationships for a while, it's not always that great. Sometimes things get rough. And are you willing to fight through it, or do you just call it quits? My guest on today's show is someone I've known for almost 15 years now. I think he knows me pretty well. And we've been married for it'll be 11 years in May. So I'd like to introduce my very first guest, Robbie. Come on in. Have a seat. Everyone, this is my husband of 10 years. We have 3 children together. And just like I said, sometimes things are great. Sometimes things are not so great. I was just upset with him because he tried to flake out on doing the show. But as you can see, he came through for me in the end. Okay, Robbie, let's tell the people. How did you come upon this beautiful presence before you?
Well, I was on my way to get some gas one day at the Chevron, and I was kind of in a rush that day, trying to get my little knickknacks together. And while I was in the store, I noticed you, I think I was on my phone, but I noticed you. And you jumped me in line. And I said, this girl don't want to know I'm in a rush. She just jumping me like that. So, as I got my gas, I came out the store, get my gas. I saw you still pumping your gas. So I asked, excuse me, ma'am, do you need me to pump your gas? That's when she told me, everybody, I know I have a boyfriend. I said, oh, okay. Well, just take my number down if you ever mess up or change your mind, just give me a call. And sure enough, I did that, and, about a day or two later, you end up calling me. And we end up kicking it.
Is that the story you're going to tell the people?
That's the story that I remember.
Okay. I remember it a little differently, people. But, we're going to let him hold it. We'll let him have that, okay? This go round. But anybody who knows me knows I didn't call first. Anywho. So, we've been married now 10 years. So, from the time we met, let's just count, well, not really fast forward, but I look at us as maybe, we kind of have an unconventional relationship. Mm-hmm. It's not traditional in the sense of a lot of people, they met their mate wherever they met them, and they had this lovey-dovey fairy tale, once I saw him, looked in his eyes and I knew he was the one, all of that stuff. We didn't have that. We met each other, I think it might have been like in March. I think it was like March, beginning of April.
Something like that.
And by July, I was pregnant with our first child. So, like I said, very unconventional. But, fast forward about 3 years later or so, that's when we, decided to get married. So between that time, we had some ups and downs. I don't think we were ever really like boyfriend and girlfriend.
No, we really wasn't.
But
it's cool friends.
But we built the friendship.
Right.
Yeah, right. We really did. We built a real solid friendship, but we never really had, I was never a fan of like the baby mama, baby daddy type title or whatever, because one thing I could never take away from you was you've always been a great father.
Thank you. Thank you. You always been a
So,
great mother.
thank you. So, I just never felt like that's my baby daddy, even though that's what he was. But I just never felt that, that title. But we were never like boyfriend and girlfriend. We just decided one day to go get married. And even when we went and got married, we went to the courthouse. We had just bought a house before we got married, a couple of months before we got married. We went to the courthouse, got married, came home, cut the grass, and took a nap.
That's so true.
That was
real story, true story.
That was, so this notion of, which for some people that's fine, like I said, this is a judgment-free zone. So however you get to wherever you are, so be it. Your story is your story, and this is ours. But along the way, we've definitely had our ups and downs. We separated for about a year.
Right.
This was even after me. This was, matter of fact, after our third child. We
Right.
separated for about a year and a half or so. And, then we came back together. Like I said, we had a friend, even when we were separated, we were still cool. It
True.
was like we knew
True.
we weren't together,
Right.
hadn't planned on being together. As a matter of fact, the day that I called the divorce attorney to make an appointment was the day that you called me and was like, we need to sit down and talk and see if we can figure this thing out.
True.
And I never told him, hey, never told anybody. My mom was alive at the time and never told anybody. I called the lady, made an appointment. I was getting off of work, and he called me on my way to the car. I called her on my lunch break. He called me on my way to the car. So, to have this idea, and some people, and it may be from their upbringing or what have you, but some people have this idea in mind that marriage is always going to be this perfect, oh, well, we've got married now and it's going to be a breeze. That's when shit gets real. That's when it gets hard, because you have two different people raised probably two different ways, or even if it's close, he comes from a similar background that, of me. However, it was still two different households and still kind of two different upbringings.
Right.
So you're bringing two different people with two different mindsets, two different upbringings together under one roof to try to map life out together forever. Think about that. That shit is hard.
It is. It is.
And sometimes you're going to have these spots where, oh, we got it all figured out. It's good. And then sometimes you're going to hit those patches where it's like, I can't stand this. I don't know if I can do this.
That's right. I've been wanting to go upside our head many times.
But you know better. Because, we fight back.
That's
over
right.
here.
That's right. That's right. Go ahead.
But, so, and then I do see, and, kind of side note, even when we were separated, I couldn't see myself really being with anybody else. Besides the fact that, like I said, we were friends. Like,
Right. Totally,
I don't know anybody. And that's one thing a lot of people miss. They jump from, and even, you could say we kind of did. We jumped from meeting to in the bed to having a baby. It was just fast. And we never really got that courting phase or in it, that stage in here. But we were able, I guess it's just our personalities. It's funny that we're both Libras.
Right.
But he's an October Libra, I'm a September Libra. So while a lot of our personality traits are similar, we still have a lot of differences. And that's one thing I noticed about like September Libras. We kind of plan stuff out. And we see the bigger picture, then we make us a roadmap as to how to get there. Which you got the October leavers, they just kind of jump off into stuff and then try to figure it out,
Last
and then just
minute.
try to figure it out on their way there, which can be so frustrating.
It can.
So sometimes we do butt heads, but all in all, we've kind of learned how to communicate. Like, and at this point, kind of, he knows what makes me tick. I knows what makes him tick. He knows when I need my space, and vice versa. Anyway, so, I see a lot of people asking, like on Facebook, what's the purpose? You'll see these memes that say, marriage is nothing but a piece of paper, or what's the purpose? What is your take on that? What do you feel about that?
Well, it's definitely more than a piece of paper, as we know. Definitely, number one for me is just unity is one with God 1st. That's what God first. Get up under the umbrella and put your family up under it, and everything will go kind of. I'm not gonna say smooth all the time, but you'll pretty have a good smooth road.
Okay. So, so, as far as my take on it is the feelings that are involved when you're in a committed relationship or a marriage, because marriage ain't for every. I understand we have a lot of people who are religious and, they feel like, marriage is the ultimate goal. It ain't for everybody. Everybody not going to be able to withstand it. I mean, simple as that.
It's not for everybody.
It's not.
For everybody.
You thought it wasn't for you, but we found out it is.
I did. I really did. I thought it wasn't.
But, like I said, it's not for everybody. But one thing I'm definitely big on is communication. But when you're able to find that person that you can definitely strip it all off and be completely vulnerable with, it's worth at least trying. And yeah, you're going to hit these hard spots. You're going to hit these rough patches. But try to work it out. We live in like this microwave society where we want everything quick. We want everything right now, just like this. And a lot of us, especially, I wouldn't say 80s babies, but a lot of like the late 80s, early 90s babies were raised with this notion of parents trying to give them something that they never had. Well, in the midst of giving them something that they never had, they didn't give them the things that they did get. Catch that. What I'm saying is the endurance, that we haven't equipped them, or they haven't been equipped with the attitude of not giving up. You got a lot of people like that'll go on jobs, and because you don't like what they're doing, you easily can quit like that.
Right.
Whereas I know the way I was raised, you can't always sometimes when you have bills and you got stuff to do, you can't just walk off a job like that. So when it comes to a marriage, a marriage is really easy to get into, and it is hard to get out of. It is expensive. True. Especially if you have children. That's why they say, it's cheaper to keep them.
That's right. That's what they say.
Because when, you're talking about getting out of a marriage, now you got to pay for a divorce attorney if you got children. You got, to think about child support, all of this stuff. You got to split your house and all of this stuff. Whereas sometimes it's worth going through it. Now, I'm not the person, and I would never sit and tell a person. The only time I'm going to tell a person when they should leave a situation is when there's physical violence. Like if you getting your butt whooped, you need to go.
Yeah, you need to leave.
Because that's a life or death situation.
Right.
If somebody putting their hands on you, whether it's the woman or the man, because we know it's some women out there beating some men up.
That's right. I know some.
I don't know any, but I know it's some out there. The men getting beat up.
That's right.
And so you need to leave that situation. A lot of times, and what's a deal breaker for you may not be a deal breaker for me. So that's why I would never tell a person other than, physical violence when they should leave a situation. Because I know I put up with some stuff other people wouldn't. And I know some other people have put up with things that I wouldn't. When we talk about, like things like cheating, infidelity. We've had that issue in our marriage before.
Right.
We just being honest, we have, but we were able to kind of work through it. You know, everybody not gonna be able to do that.
Nah.
For some people, that's a complete deal breaker, and I get it because that's a break of trust, and which you know, trust takes
hard to get back.
It takes years to build and seconds to break it.
Seconds.
And you know, for me to tell somebody, well, you need to leave him because he did this, that, and the third, that may not be, you know, the best thing because, you know, you hear once a cheater, always a cheater. I wouldn't necessarily say that. You know, for some people, maybe so. And I'm also a believer in if you can't work it out, see a professional. Go, you know, in the Black community, therapy is looked down on so bad, and I don't understand why. You know, you get people, they're like, well, pray about it. Yes, you do pray about it. However, God has equipped these people with the sense to, you know, go to school and take in this knowledge for that reason. Just like you go to a medical doctor, these are doctors. These are people who can see or who can sit on the outside and look at your situation and can help analyze and pull and see why it is y'all are butting heads. But like I said, both people have to be willing to come to that table. You know, I don't think if we weren't together or if this didn't work out, I don't think I could be single in 2019. Because even if you just look at social media and look at the mindset of some people, everybody has this selfish mentality. What can you do for me?
So true.
What are you bringing to the table? And while it's great to have those values and want people, you know, you don't want, you know, we all had to start from somewhere. You know, everybody not on the same level mentally. Everybody not on the same playing field. You know, college isn't for everybody, so everybody not gonna have a college education. Everybody not gonna bring in 6-7 figures. You know, so the idea of having that on your list, I'm not gonna say it's out because your list is your list. What you want is what you want, and that's absolutely fine. But let's be realistic. You know, sometimes you have to meet people where they are, and I'm not saying you need to be raising a man or raising a woman or anything like that. But sometimes you kind of have to step outside of yourself and see, you know, like that 80-20 rule, you know, do they have that 80%? You know, are they trying to reach goals? Are they going to work every day? You know, I'm not saying if this man's sitting at home living off of his parents and he's 40 years old, you know, I wouldn't say venture down that road. I wouldn't say that. But, you know, if you see this man getting out working every day, busting his ass, trying to, you know, make things happen, it may be worth a shot because that might be the one for you. That might be the one that's going to bring you what you need versus, you know, always, like I said, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? Well, what can you do for them? What do you have to offer?
That's right.
And sometimes it's not about, you know, well, I want to get this, and this, and I want to meet somebody that's on this level. Sometimes y'all both got to start here and build it together.
That's right.
Because, I mean, when we started, we didn't have nothing. Do you hear me? When I say nothing, I mean nothing.
She's not lying. That's the God honest truth.
Nothing.
We didn't have nothing. We didn't.
But we have built and worked at it and we still not where exactly what we want to be.
Right.
But we're getting there.
There's still a long way to go.
It is, you know, but we're getting there. And I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Me either. I wouldn't want to do it either. I wouldn't trade it either.
I wouldn't either.
I know it.
You know.
We know each other so well.
I know.
The ups, the downs.
Every now and then I want to pluck his eyes out. But he'd be all right.
But she need that bail money. She
don't
want to spend the bail money.
I don't. We got 3 kids.
That's
Both of us can't be. You know, I can't. You know, somebody got to be here for
them.
That's
right.
You know, he cute too. Anyway, so you know, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like I said, you know, sometimes it's great. And like I just said, just a couple of days ago, I I was upset because, he tried to kind of flake out on me, but
The reason let me clear this up right here before we get up the air.
come
The
on.
reason I wanted to flake out on her because I'm not really a camera person right now. I just this is all new to me. I'm not a big talker, so it wasn't about flaking out. I'm just not just a camera person, but I had to deep down and for the love so much. I have so much love for her, so my love required me and put me on this show to be a guest, and I really enjoyed myself. And you might see me again.
See, see, and sometimes it's about sacrifice.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
it's
Sacrifice
not
and compromise.
exactly, and I'm not asking. I would never ask him to sacrifice his morals. That's one thing, or put him in a situation where in a dangerous situation. Okay, so when your mate or spouse or partner, whatever, when they want you to do something, especially something to support them, sometimes you gotta kind of suck it up, and vice versa. It's a give and take. It's not always gonna be you giving or vice versa. It's a give and take, and both partners have to be able and open and willing to do that.
Right.
Like I said, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Give us some feedback on this particular episode.
Check out
Love and War.
SweetNothingsOnline.com.
And our sponsor for this episode, Just For You Skin and Spa. Just For You Skin and Spa.com. The Pocketbook Perspective. Okay, this is the portion of our show where we give advice. We receive letters or what have you, and we're just going to give our take on a few things. This is the Pocketbook Perspective. So, this week's letter says, Dear Annette, my husband and I have been discussing having a threesome for some time now. This is not something we've ever done, and I'm somewhat interested. Do you have any advice? Three's Company. Well, Three's Company, so you and your husband have been talking about having a threesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's go to our guest first. Do you have any advice for them before I weigh in?
Just make sure it's just something they really want to do. You know what I'm saying? You can have a threesome. That might be a door you don't want to open up, or you might want to open up. But just make sure that that's something that he's comfortable with, she's comfortable with, because sometimes sometimes threesomes can be good, but they can go left. So just make sure they talk about it first. That's all I have to say about it right now.
Well, that was good. So, yeah, I do agree. As I've said before, I'm big on communication. So, just like you said, first off, you want to make sure it's not something that either of you are doing to repair your relationship, because it could potentially make it worse. Make sure neither of you are doing it to prevent the other from stepping out, or make sure nobody's saying, well, if you don't do it, somebody will, or whatever, because that's never, if it's something that you don't want to do, just like you said, it's not going to help your situation, and it's not going to be fun. You're going to feel like it's work. And while some of us may love our jobs, you don't want whatever you're doing with your mate to feel like work. Like I said, communication. So you definitely want to set boundaries. You want to set up your rules, maybe a safe word, if it's something you feel uncomfortable with doing while you're in the moment. Have you guys a safe word so both of you will know, okay, well, they're not down for that, so let's move on to something else. I would suggest not doing it with a friend.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds funny, saying like a random stranger or whatever, but I would suggest it not being a friend.
Right. I agree with you. Just not a friend.
Because you sometimes, especially if one of the partners tends to be uh, jealous or whatever, that in the back of their mind, they'll always be wondering, are they going to backdoor me? Are they
Right.
going,
Right.
are they having communication behind my back? Especially if it's a friend of both of both of yours. You always have that in the back of your mind. Are they communicating? Or when you see them on Facebook liking pictures, is something going on here?
Right. Right.
So I would definitely suggest that it not be a friend per se.
Around.
Um, and like I said, I know it sounds funny saying a random person, but if they're not a friend, that's kind of what they are. Um, it was going to take some planning, because whoever you choose, you want to make sure that they're clean, especially if you live somewhere where your STD rates are high. You definitely
Yeah.
want to check their record.
Yeah.
You don't want to, and also don't invite them to your house.
Never invite them
Get
to
you a
the house.
room,
Always the room.
especially because if this is a person that you don't know, you don't want them having your address saying what's. I mean, I don't care if you don't have anything. Whatever you
Right.
have is yours, and
Right.
you want to keep it that way. And you want that peace of mind that not just any somebody knows where your house is, because we know people are crazy. And shoot, they might get it and fall in love with it and be stalking you in your bushes.
What?
You never know.
You never
Or
know.
stealing your stuff. So stealing your chains. But like I said, communicate, communicate, communicate. You definitely want to iron this thing out with your husband before you even venture out, into that. And another thing about, not asking a friend, you don't want, if that friend turns you down, don't want it to be awkward between you guys. This may be a judgment-free zone, but you don't know what that person's mindset is. Um, and even when you're um, soliciting, I guess you can say, you still want to be careful with that. Um, I know a lot of times people think that, you know, just because a lesbian likes a woman, that they make that's the name of it. They're a lesbian, so they don't want a man. They want a woman. If you want, if you're doing it with two women, then you want somebody that's bisexual or someone who has that curiosity as well. Um, if it's same thing if it's two men, if it's a gay man, he ain't gonna want you. He's just gonna want your man. That's if your man down for that.
Yeah.
That's.
That's the part they can always leave me out.
But if that some people are into that,
Right,
and we
right.
not judging
Yeah,
here.
you right.
That may
You
not
right.
be our cup of tea,
Yeah, you
but it's
right.
somebody's.
You right.
And they can have that.
You right.
Like I said, communication is definitely going to be number one for me. And you don't want to do it just because you're trying to fix something or to prevent anything from happening. You want to do it because you're both interested in it. And it can be fun. It really can. Afterwards, you guys can discuss it and see, what you like, what you didn't like. If you want to do it again, what can you do different this time? If that time was,
A
if
bad
you,
experience
or right,
a good experience.
um, definitely check these STDs out, because it's they got stuff you
Yeah,
can't get rid
that's
of,
right. Definitely check that
and you
out.
don't want to be trying to have fun and mess around, and
Yeah,
end up with a lifetime of medication.
that's right.
You know, uh, and going back to, if your partner, is jealous or insecure, you want to really be careful with that too. Simply because in the back of their mind, they're gonna be wondering, well, did they like them better? Are they gonna do this? Are they gonna do that?
Right.
You want to make sure that your relationship is already in a good place. And if not, you definitely want to work to that. It's not something that you got to rush into. Take your time, iron all of this stuff out on the front end, so that you're not having to do it on
On
the
the
back
back end.
end, because doing it on the back end could be detrimental to your relationship. If you have anything to add to that, go ahead, drop down in the comments. We'd love to hear what you all have to say. You got anything else on that?
No, I think that's about it. I don't think that's about it. I enjoyed it though. I really did. Like I said, people, this is just not me. I'm just camera. I'm just not
But you
for the
did
camera.
good.
But
You
you
did really,
know,
really well.
maybe I get it better. But right now, the camera just not for me. But
You did good. I'm proud of you.
thank you, baby.
Okay, so this wraps up our episode. Let us know what you felt about it, how you liked it, likes, dislikes, give me comments, critiques. This is now my second episode, so send me letters. I'm still looking for sponsors or what have you. And we'll catch you next time on the S Word. So I know y'all didn't think I was gonna let that version of the story ride, right? Okay, this is how we actually met. It was at the gas station. I did go inside to pay for my gas, and he was in the line on his phone, not paying attention, so I skipped him in the line. As I was pumping my gas, he drove around and offered to pump it, but I was done at that point, so he asked me for my number. I gave it to him. Before he could even get to the light, he was already calling me. So, as we were talking on the phone before the first date or whatever, I told him I had an ex-boyfriend that I was still kicking it with, not a current boyfriend. And after a few dates, he got a little bit and he been hooked on it ever since.